Happy Friday, people. You're in the Beat Sessions. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. It is September 24th, and so we're talking about Cold War Kids and their brand new record, New Age Norms 3. This is album number 9 for the band, or you could call it the third installment of album number 7. Either way, it follows up 2020's number 2, and number 1 was released in 2019. And so you think about that album title, it's pretty loaded after everything that has transpired in the 2.5 years or so since this project began to unfold. A lot of New Age norms that have been affected because of a certain something that, I don't know, we don't really need to talk about that on this album review. But what I will say is that album title and watching everything that's happened, it's been tough not to focus just a lot on that and to think about it in and of itself. But I think that that's what makes Nathan Willett such a brilliant songwriter and lyricist over the years. He's very colorful, and the double entendres, the layered meanings to his stuff is just one of the things that makes him so great. New Age norms can also refer to this band. Cold War Kids themselves have undergone many changes in it's almost been 20 years since they started releasing music. And their sound is definitely driven by much more of a pop influence. Now, if you watch the channel regularly, you know that I'm okay with that. I do love pop music. But what I will say is that Robbers and Cowards especially, their early stuff, I started listening to that record with my friends summer of 2006 when, it was when all those EPs were out, right before they released the first full-length LP. And so got a hold of Hang Me Up to Dry and some of these other songs. And we had just graduated from University of Arizona, so needless to say, we were having a good time on a nightly basis, listening to this stuff nonstop. And I just love the grungy, bluesy element to the rock style there. They almost kind of reminded me of a New Age Rolling Stones in a lot of ways when I first started listening to them. And definitely a lot of, another thing that I love is just this barroom piano thing that drives, you hear it on pretty much all of their albums. There's at least one track. On this particular record, Wasted All Night, they do it so well. But I love that rawness to their music. And so that's kind of lost. It's tough not to think about that nostalgia a little bit, think about, the band early on when I started getting into them. But I love watching them grow, and I love them, play with different styles and play with different sounds. And for the most part, they hit the mark. And like any band that's trying to grow and trying to do new stuff, they don't always necessarily nail it. But for the most part, New Age Norms 1, 2, and 3, really solid effort. Let's get into the rundown on the track listing for number 3, though. I Can't Walk Away. Simple but catchy piano on the intro. It's got a wonderful hook, wonderful melody. And if there's one thing that's always stayed constant with this band, I will say real quick, Nathan Willett, his vocal performance. His lyrics are great, but his vocal performances are just always so dynamic, so impressive. He can pretty much do anything and everything with his voice. Really just a lot of fun to listen to. And so you get into the second track, What You Say. This thing is so funky. It's so good. It's arguably the best track on maybe all 3 of these mini albums. We'll call it the New Age Norm. It might be the best track on the record. Really just love the vibe, love his vocal on that. Leads into Always. And again, showing off some of the different dynamics here. The verses on this track have this really light, airy synth to them. And then the chorus kicks in, and it's got this R&B vibe. It just, it works. They blend together really nicely, but there's just this different feel as the song progresses to both of those elements, which I really dug. Underground, it's got great reverb in the vocal intro, and then I love the contrast in the song. Whether, whatever the emotions are that you're playing with, in this particular track, you have this, really bright musical element, but there's this foreboding just feeling lyrically, melodically in the background that kind of underlies the track. And I think it's very well layered and textured and nicely done. Really impressed by that. Times have changed. It reminds me of the White Stripes song, 300 Mile Per Hour Torrential Outpour Blues. It's the third track on Icky Thump. But immediately when I listened to that song, I couldn't help but think of that track, and I really like the vibe as well. And again, you're talking about some of that bluesy element that still exists, that still drives the music of Cold War Kids. It's always going to be constant too. It's like Willett's voice. For as poppy as they get, that bluesy element will always be there, and I love that about these guys. I would say the weakest moment on this particular installment of New Age Norms is Two Worlds. It's funky, and there's things about it that I like, but it does almost feel like it's trying too hard. I want to eliminate that track, and I'm going to get into that in just a second. Nowhere to Be is, I love it. It's got this doo-wop meets kind of like country rock style ballad. It's just a really nice mix of genres there and very well done. And then Wasted All Night, closing out with this it just is great barroom piano sound. And when I looked at the runtime, it was 7 minutes long, and really the coda of the track takes up about 3 minutes, and it's kind of noise. It was kind of a letdown when the first half of the track, the first 4 minutes, are so good. I honestly thought it was going to have this little breakdown and then just build into something massive for the last 2 minutes, but it didn't, and that kind of bummed me out. And that, in conjunction with Two Worlds, so these three projects are being released individually. Even on the website, they're $20 a piece. So at your local record store, they might run you 25, close to 30 with tax, depending on where you live. And so I see no value in vinyl pleasing this for this reason. If you take away those two tracks, Two Worlds, and just the coda on Wasted All Night, you're removing roughly 7 minutes of music. And collectively, these three mini albums have a runtime of 93 minutes. Minus 7 is 86, and this thing would have fit beautifully into a 2 LP package that you may have only had to pay $35 for versus $60 now. This channel is about, vinyl packages as a whole. That's what I really want the album reviews to focus on and be about. And as much as I love a lot of these songs, and as much as I'm really excited to see them worked into a live set, and I definitely would encourage all of you to check them out if they come near you. Even if you like them just a little bit, go see them live. They're worth it. I can't vinyl please this for that reason. There's just no value in the packaging, and for that reason, I have to say vinyl pass. So it disappoints me to have to do that, but I hope you enjoy listening to this installment of this project. And if you haven't checked it out in its entirety, you should definitely listen to all three because they're pretty cool. But I hope you find this review helpful. Please like this video and share it, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more reviews throughout the week. We'll see you next time on the Beat Sessions.